at the Metro Office Building, Sonny West Conference Center. We have a quorum, and we are ready to do business. Thank you all for attending, and anyone that's observing us on television. The first item of business is public comments, which we take now in the beginning of the meeting. Ms. Harrison, has anyone signed up? No public comment. So that brings us to item 2, which is the minutes from our last meeting, December 18th, 2023. Commissioners, have you had a chance to look over the minutes? Are there any comments, questions, or requested changes?
Chairman, I make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
With a motion and a second, all in favor say aye. 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 Any opposition? With no opposition, the motion carries unanimously. We are at item 3 on the agenda, which is for the commission to consider a change in an early voting location for the March 5th election, from the Bellevue Library to the Bellevue Community Center. If I would like to ask AOE Roberts to tell us what happened at the library and then the solution to the problem.
Mr. Chairman, the library in Bellevue had a water leak causing extensive damage. They're looking at 6 to 8 weeks to repair that damage. So temporarily, we need to move the early voting site at the Bellevue Library to the Bellevue Community Center.
Okay. And the Bellevue Community Center has the facilities for us to set up to vote, and it's got the technical capacity for us to have our equipment there.
Yes, sir. We've reviewed the technical capabilities of the center and the actual physical layout of the room. It's not perfect, but for this temporary solution, keeping it in the Bellevue neighborhood, we thought it was a good option.
Mr. Chairman, just a quick question. Take it that this does not impact the election day itself.
The Bellevue Library will impact election day. I can go ahead and jump down to my comments for election day. I've provided a sheet here that shows we do have to move 2 precincts from the Bellevue Library over to the Bellevue Middle School there, and they're adjacent to each other. So another temporary move.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll just follow up on that at that time. Thanks.
Are there any other questions on this issue? Yes, sir, Commissioner
Chairman,
Starling.
I just want to clarify that location from the Bellevue Library to the community center is fairly close. It's not a big distance.
Yes, sir. It's I'm guessing maybe 2 miles, something like that. Fairly close, right there by the interstate, adjacent to the Bellevue 1 shopping center. So I think anyone living in that general area probably has a good idea where the community center is. It's next door in the same building with the Ford Ice Center.
Okay. And are we going to have signs out to tell people when they show up at the Bellevue Library that it's been moved?
Yes, sir. We will have a sign at any locations that have been impacted by the Bellevue flooding situation.
All right. Any other questions or comments from the commission? I understand that under state law, this is a change that the commission has to vote on. So with that, I ask for, if the commission is in agreement with this change, I ask for a motion and a second.
Motion to change the voting sites per state law for the primary election on the 5th.
Second that motion, please.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposition? With no opposition, the motion carries. Then number 4 on the agenda is to consider a date change for the Provisional Counting Board for the March 5th election. And so the new date, as suggested by the staff, would be March 11th, 2024 at 9 o'clock. And this would be in the Green Hills Room out at our location on Murfreesboro Road. And AOE Roberts, can you explain to us the reason for this change?
Mr. Chairman, this was an error on our part in looking at the calendar for March. We have it set right now per your vote for the 13th, and we need to move it back to the 11th to match up to the requirements in the law.
Okay. And then this is for the counting board, which is a group of citizens of both parties to count the provisional ballots. So when people vote and their ballots are taken on a provisional ballot, then the staff studies those votes, and then they're considered and voted on by a group of people from both parties, and that's going to occur if we adopt this suggestion, that will occur on March 11th at 9 o'clock. Are there any other questions or comments concerning this issue by the commission? With that, do we have a motion?
Make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to the change from to March the 11th.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? With no opposition, the motion carries. Then item 5 is our AOE report. Mr. Roberts, can you give us that report, please?
So in your packet, I've included a single page that describes the election day polling location changes. Some of these were because of the flooding issue at the library. Some were because the previous locations chose not to host us any longer. We have already sent to the voters in each of these precincts a notice that tells them of their new location or their temporary location for the upcoming election, as is required by state law. So everything's already in motion to make sure the voters know where they need to be if they choose to vote on election day. We'll also have signage at all of these locations notifying the voter, if you used to vote here, you need to go, and in most cases, it's very close by where you need to go to vote on election day.
Go ahead. I was going to ask a question about that.
Go ahead and ask on that, and I'll.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Burns, you are recognized.
So just for slow learners, so on the permanent changes, I guess they were saying a new registration card?
That's correct. They get a new registration card with it identified on there as their new polling location.
But in terms of the temporary changes, you said they were notified. Were they also given a new
They won't get a
card?
new registration card. They will get a postcard in the mail that says your permanent location has been temporarily moved to this location.
And forgive me, but the references both in permanent and temporary to the 22.3 has an asterisk, but I don't see any note as to what the asterisk means. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, I see what you're saying. So the asterisk is really telling us that, the asterisk is telling us on the staff that this location was moved previously to the Bellevue Library, and now we're going to move it again over to the Bellevue Middle School. This location originated at the United Methodist Church no longer wants to be a host, so we move them permanently to the library, where they will vote in August and November. But for March, they're going to have to vote next door at the middle school.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
It's, since I've been here, we've never had one like this, where we move someone and then we have to notify them that they've got to move again for the same election. This is going to require us to do a little outreach to those folks to make sure they get into the right place.
So for that precinct, those people got a notice first that it was being moved from the Methodist Church to the Bellevue Library, and then they got another notice saying it's been moved again.
Right. Now, they got the notice of going to the Bellevue Library a few weeks ago. They got the notice to move from the library to the middle school, I want to say Monday.
And so are we going to have signs up both at the church and the library then?
We will have signs up in both locations to make sure that the voters know exactly where to go. And it helps us that the library and the middle school, they're next door to each other.
Okay.
So,
Yes, Commissioner Starling, yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I guess all the elected officials in that area, whether it be state representatives or council people, are they aware of these changes? Because I know that a lot of times when your constituents, they get a little confused and they call the council or the state folk and want to know where things are. So are they aware of these changes?
and that will be my task the next few days to do that, because we just tied down the Bellevue Middle School, I want to say on Wednesday, that because of the snow, we weren't able to get to the principal to say, can we get everyone in the gym? So it's kind of a domino effect here. We've got to make sure things are rolling in order before I reach out to the council folks and state House and Senate people.
Okay, good. So essentially, there were two things that happened that were outside our control. The church said, you can't have the elections here anymore in our location, and then there was a major plumbing issue at the Bellevue Library. Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. Is there anything else as part of your report?
I will tell you that as of today, we've received less than 75 absentee requests. Now, we've got 600 permanent absentee, and those folks, they do their request pretty much every time. But as far as your other individuals that are requesting an absentee ballot, we have very small numbers at this point in the process. Okay. Same thing's reflected on our voter registration. We have not seen really a big increase of any kind up to this point. So whether or not that comes in the future, we're trying to gear up to be ready, but right now we're not seeing it. And that's all my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is to review the voter registration cards. Pursuant to Tennessee law, the commission is required personally to review a sample of the voter registration cards that were sent in and approved by the staff in the previous quarter. So we have to do this once a quarter, and it entails a commissioner of each party to review those voter registration cards. And takes a while. It's very boring. So what I would suggest we do is that we, if there are people watching this, that we set the next meeting so people who are watching will know the next meeting, and they can decide if they want to watch the rest of the meeting, which will consist of us just looking through these cards until we're done, at which point we will, unless something very unusual happens, we will just adjourn at that point. So, Mr. Roberts, you've suggested and the staff has suggested our next meeting for March 19th at 3 o'clock. Can you just explain the reason for that suggested setting?
So, Mr. Chairman, at our previous meeting, you voted at that time to set the meeting on the 19th. That's when we will certify the March 5th election. So you've already taken action on that. This was just to let you know, kind of a reminder that that's coming up on the 19th.
Okay, so the next major, the major item on that, for that meeting is going to be certifying the election, and it's already been set.
That's correct. And we may also include items in preparation for the August election. So stay tuned. We have plenty of elections coming up this year.
All right. With that, commissioners, is there anything that any of you would like to raise at this point before we go to reviewing the registration cards? No? Okay. All right. So that's what we'll do now. We're just going to, each of the commissioners is going to review cards, and they'll be traded back and forth so that a commissioner of each party will review each card.
answer on that, or?
I have not heard back from them yet, so go ahead and mark it down as one.
So citizenship question would be one. That's the one with,
Citizenship, right?
yeah.
The commission has now reviewed the registration cards, and that completes the published agenda. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
With a motion and a second, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? With no opposition, the motion carries. Thank you.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.